You've eaten Gotham's wealth, its spirit, but your feast is nearly over.
This is not my home. It's an operating table. And I'm the surgeon. Why aren't you laughing?
From this moment on, none of you are safe.
Welcome to the Batman Book Club, a podcast exploring the Dark Knight Library. I'm your host, Ryan Lauer. The Batman Book Club is a proud member of the Batman Podcast Network, hosted by Batman on Film. Just go to batmanonfilm.com, click on podcasts, and you'll find the Batman Podcast Network that has a whole list of other Bat-related shows that also like to dive into other nerdy subjects that all of us, including Peter R. Vera, love to frolic about in our free time. Even when he's busy, Pete's frolicking over nerd things. The Batman Book Club is also on Patreon, so if you like what's going on with the show and you want to help support the show, keep the generators running in the Wayne Manor study, go to patreon.com/thebatmanbc. Now, thank you for listening to episode 210, Batman Catwoman. Joining me on this revisit to Tom King Batman land is a mega Tom King Batman fan. It's somebody that I know truly exists. This guy is not AI because I have met him and talked to him in person multiple occasions. It's my pal, Austin Rodriguez. Austin, welcome back.
Thank you for having me. It's been a nice little long time.
It has. The last time you were on was Tom King month in January of 2023.
Yep, we released that episode on my birthday. That's why I remember it.
Oh, really? You didn't tell me that, did you?
Yep. Well, I don't think we recorded it on my birthday, but you released it January 16th.
I dropped it on your birthday. Okay. So you're a humble guy. You didn't say, "Hey, it was my birthday." You didn't even say anything.
No, but last time on the podcast, I said I'm humbled. I'm honored to be on. So
okay. All right. Well, I'm sorry that I didn't give you a shout out for your birthday, but it was a gift for everyone else that we released our conversation about one of Tom King's arcs in his mega super Batman run. And
most definitely.
I forget when you and I talk all the time, but when we talked about you coming back on here and what you wanted to talk about, and I'm not surprised that you chose Tom King again. But did you name another book?
I did name another book, but that will remain disclosed because I may or may not use it if I ever get back on the show.
You may or may not. Well, I ask you because it was either with you and Carlos, who was just on the last episode, or you and someone. There was between like 4 or 5 people that I was talking with. There was an overlap of like 2 different stories from multiple people.
Oh yeah, we talked
saying like at the same time, yeah. And I didn't hint to anybody and any of these 4 or 5 people that I talked to about anything, and somehow nobody picked the ones that they were both talking about either. So it's like there was no, hey, can't do that because actually, or blah 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 or anything. So I don't know how we all dodged that, but we did.
Yeah, we made it. We somehow didn't all choose the same story. I know you've been trying to like inception people to pick Heart of Hush for a while. So
and wow, reading my mind because somebody took the bait. And that's
somebody finally got it. Okay.
Yeah, by year's
Spoiler.
end. Yep, by year's end on the Batman Book Club, we're going to talk Heart of Hush. So there's a little heads up to dig out your issues, or in your case, that I can see now because you told me, bust out an omnibus and crack open Heart of Hush. But we're not cracking that open this time. Because Austin, you and I, we're going to Kingland. We're going to be talking about Tom King's Batman Catwoman. Now there's a lot of stuff to talk about with this. Okay. This book is 12-issue series plus a special, a 1-issue one-shot special. Was first released December of 2020. Last issue was released in 2022. It was, of course, released physically. Well, I should say, written by Tom King. Issues 1 through 6, and then 10 through 12 were illustrated by Clay Mann. Issues 7, 8, and 9 were illustrated by Liam Sharp. And then the special was the late great John Paul Leon with also Bernard Chang and Mitch Gerrits. This book, like I said, the physically came out, physical issues. Digitally, it was available wherever you could buy it. It's currently available on DC Universe Infinite. The collected hardcover is available on my favorite app of all time, Hoopla. Austin, which version did you read for this episode?
I read the single issues that I bought at my local comic book shop.
That a man.
I have a couple in front of
Yes.
me, not that the people can see, but this one is signed by Tom King and Clayman.
Oh, my man.
So
Wow.
I have that one, and then issue 12 I have signed by Clayman somewhere at the bottom.
Nice. Now, yes, so that was something that I was going to ask you about. So let's get through some of these questions and then I'm going to talk to you because you, yes, obviously you have met both of these people. You've spoken to both of these people. So we're going to dig into that. Me, I read the collected hardcover, but I would be crazy if I didn't also bust out all of the physical issues. But I did read the hardcover, but I busted out my physicals, my floppies, because there's a reference point that I want to make about those. Uh, do you remember, Austin, because this was so long ago, when you first read this?
I read it as it was coming out. So I read it every single month that it came out. I remember they took like a nice little break in the
Mm-hmm.
middle when they were
Mm-hmm.
figuring out who was going to do the art. But I read it as it came out in 2020 and 2021. I know that was that whole year is a blur.
Yeah. Yeah, yeah. And maybe that's why we were all a little bit like most of us were so antsy about this is because of, it was some peak COVID times. Maybe
Yeah.
not peak COVID, but I mean it was COVID times. So it was a lot of a little bit more nestled at home than usual. So it's like, all right, where's the next chapter? Where's the next chapter? But it wasn't as sporadic as say Batman 89, Batman 89 Echoes, but there was like it seemed like it was every other month, and then there was a gap at some time period. I can't, I'm not, I didn't go back and look in every single release date, but um, inconsistent, quote unquote, I think would be fair to say without like throwing daggers at anybody.
Yeah, definitely. They definitely didn't hit every single month. So,
Hmm. Yeah.
but yeah,
Uh,
I felt like it was worth the wait.
okay, there you go. Well, that wraps it up right here. Austin's a fan of this episode. Thanks for coming back. Um, most importantly, why did you choose Batman Catwoman?
The reason I chose Batman Catwoman is because I feel like Tom King books are an acquired taste.
Mm,
They're kind of like your favorite movie director, and you're like, you either love it or you hate it.
mm,
And Tom King stuff for me, I'm his target audience.
yeah.
Whatever he's doing, I'm usually like, wow, I love this. Inject it into my veins.
Hmm.
Give me more of this.
Hmm.
So, um, I always liked the Batman Catwoman dynamic. So that's
Hmm.
why I felt like this was such a great story to kind of try to come on here and break down.
You and I, and it may have shown through on that Tom King month because Michael Cronenberg, I believe his episode was before you, and we talked about Tom King's run as a whole. Then I talked to you about I Am Bane,
Hmm.
and then Tom King was on after you to talk about his whole run. And I think probably in every single episode, I talked about how much I liked Tom King's Batman run. I don't know how much I talked about with Batman Catwoman, but in reading it this time, this book is a freaking treasure. I love this book. Um, it's one of those I was done and then thinking of some talking points, for us here, and I was like, I almost just want to read it again, just because, I this I it's sometimes it just kind of boggles my mind, and nobody's wrong, but it boggles my mind on like why Tom King Batman is divisive. I kind of can't wrap my head around it of what is it that because I think there are a lot of people like, oh, I love Tom King. A lot of people love Tom King, like, Mr. Miracle and Vision, and, like non-Batman stuff. But then when he gets
Mhm.
to Batman, it's almost like they're a little more like, I don't know. And I'm kind of like, man, I don't know what there isn't to like love about his stuff. I think if anything, maybe if someone's reading month by month and
Yeah, I think
maybe
Tom King reads better in
collected.
the trade collected.
Yep.
Yeah,
Yeah, I agree. And I actually had somebody tell me recently that that's how I should read Ram V's Detective. I don't know if I believe them,
good luck
but
to you, sir.
it's the as the wound is still fresh with that one, so it's going to be some time till I give that a shot because maybe that is a situation here of how I would try to convince people to read King's material because I do think, and especially with this, so it took a year and a half for a Batman Catwoman to come out like in full, so we get the whole story, and here I am over the course of a couple sittings, and I read it all collected in one book, and I'm just like, this is a great story. I think this is a wonderful story. I think it does a lot. It covers a lot. So yeah, that's my like off the top there is my encouragement of like if somebody's on the fence, I don't think if somebody flat out doesn't like it, I would not push read it again collected because I don't think that it's gonna sway them. But if somebody's maybe on the fence and they only read it month to month, then I would be like, oh, read it more as collected because I think you get more out of it. That being said, you so I've only talked to him on that one when I had him on this show. I didn't talk about this book at all with him. There's hopes that one day he and I can our schedules can align and he can come back and that'd be the next thing I'd want to talk to him about is this book and then Killing Time. Um you've done the convention circuit. You
I
appeared,
have.
I think he took a selfie down one
I
time
do.
and you were in the background of that one.
Yeah, he posted I don't know, like an Instagram story, and I
hmm
was like the third person in line at the convention when he did it. So he's like, "Hey,
Yeah.
come see me at the table," and you just see me in the background like
You'll see
waving.
Austin too. So what when you let's start with him first, the man. Is that the only time that you've seen him in
That's the only
person?
time yeah, that's the only time I've seen him in person. So yeah, it his table wasn't really that busy when I went. I went on Friday, so I guess people were probably at work. But
Gotcha.
yeah, his table wasn't really busy. He was a super nice guy. He signed his stuff. I was trying to figure out what to say to him
Yeah.
because I like Tom King a lot. So I'm trying to figure out like, all right, what am I gonna say? Don't sound like an idiot.
Yeah.
Don't come off as like a fanboy.
Yeah.
Just say something and ask for the autograph. So I think I just said something like a big fan of your work. I love all your Batman stuff. I think I told him at random one of my favorite issues is like issue 69 that was at like the middle of the Nightmare arcs.
hmm
So he was like, "Thanks, you're the only person that ever tells me that." So so yeah, that was pretty much my Tom King interaction. I said, "Hey, can you sign these Batman, Catwoman issues for me real quick?" And Clayman was also at the event. So
That same one.
yeah, the same one.
Okay. So then you got to his booth. What'd you say to him? Anything of note?
Same thing. Like
Same
at the
thing. Okay.
time, generally the same thing because like Clayman is also, as we'll get into looking at the art, like he just draws very good looking people.
Yeah.
So I told him, hey, I'm a fan of your work. Can you just sign some of these Cat issues for me? And he signed them, and he's a little bit more reserved, kind of
Yeah.
quiet. He's like, here you go, thanks.
You're
And
like,
like,
I really bonded with him. He'll remember me forever.
yeah, I didn't really bond with him too much. I met Tony Daniel there too, side note. But yeah, I talked to him a bit more. He was telling me about some of his upcoming work and things like
Yeah.
that. So he was a bit more talkative.
So I mentioned on here like that when I went to C2E2 and what you just said with Tom King was kind of how I was with Sean Murphy. And I'd podcasted with Sean twice at that point. And
You're on a
yet
first
still,
name basis with
yeah,
Sean.
yeah, good old Sean, OG, Sean G. And that was to me even was just kind of like, I you've got people behind you waiting to get in the position you're in, but yet you're like, but that was me, and now I'm in the position. And I'm like, they've got a lot of people to talk to. What do I even say? What do I even say that's worth a damn? Hey. And fortunately I didn't with him, I didn't make a fool of myself. He said he recognized my voice as soon as I said, "Hey Sean, Ryan," and I started to say Laura, but at that point he was already like, "Oh," and he stood up and he shook my hand and something. And that one was fine. It was Brian Azzarello later in the day that I was just, he's like, I'm sure I walked away and he's like, "Oh man, these are the dorks I hate running into at cons." Because I was a mess at that point. I was starving. I hadn't eaten anything. It was like early afternoon and it was so ugh. So I'm glad that you didn't make them remember you for a negative reason.
Correct.
Congratulations. Yeah. Um, so Batman Catwoman, I've already said I love the story. You you asked me earlier, basically in a sense of like anything specific. I think the two things of note here, but maybe three things. You already said Clayman. Clayman's art is next level on this. Um, the guy can draw some booties. He's pretty good at drawing some booties. He's also great at drawing a Christmas atmosphere. I love that the story takes place at Christmas and is a Christmas
Yeah.
story. And then I also think it's funny that this is Batman Catwoman because I think it could be Catwoman Batman because I do think this is Catwoman. This is a show that Catwoman stars in. I think
Yeah, she's kind of like the lead.
she's the lead. All three timelines are more so focused about around her. Um, she's in it a lot. I don't know. Like this is the point I'm thinking now. I don't know that there's much where she isn't involved in the pages, like in stories, like you get cutaways to Phantasm a lot, but you don't necessarily just follow Batman by himself in this book. A lot of times it's him and her, or a Catwoman's, with someone. So it's like we're attached to her in all three timelines throughout the whole story. So I just feel like it's it was interesting reading it this time because I think I read it as soon as the hardcover came out. I bought it and I read it, and then I haven't read it since. So it was fun to revisit it now and kind of have some distance from it and revisiting. And it's interesting to kind of think like, what is Tom King? What's he saying overall in this book? And a really big point of reference is like you open up on the cover, and on the inside it says, "Are you Catwoman or are you Batman?"
Hmm.
And that's a line that Joker asks her in the story. And I'm like, I know that it says it on the book, but I'm like, I kind of feel like that's what the story is about.
Yeah, I think it's definitely about the continuation of their love story from Tom King's original run, the
Hmm.
first 85 issues.
Hmm.
I know he said he wanted to finish it, and this would be kind of how he would have finished it if he would have got to it.
Glad you just brought that up because there's nerds love to just complain.
Hmm.
And so of course there was this whole massive thing, and you got both sides of it. They're not even letting Tom King finish his whole arc at 100 issues. And on the flip side, it's like Tom King was so bad they aren't letting him write 100 issues. And then it was broken down of like he did 85 issues on the main Batman title. I don't know how many annuals this Batman and Catwoman, and I think like some of the annuals were even double sized to where in the end it was like the math added up to like, no, he did 100 issues just because it
Yeah.
wasn't Batman to, 1 to 100. There was also Rebirth, which that was number 0, right? Or maybe not. I don't know. But anyways, He just, I was thinking about that while I was reading this, and then you mentioning the issues there too, and I'm kind of like, oh boy, fandom.
Yeah, I mean, at this point, I think he's written like well over like 100 and maybe like 115, 120 issues of
He's got
Batman
some he's
related
got
content.
some Batman content under his belt. So anyways, you said building off of what he was the story that he was telling with like in his main Batman run. And I feel like he'd said to me when I talked to him, I because I brought up when he was on Seth Meyers. 'Cause I said I love Seth Meyers because he has comic book creators on his show and talks to
Mhm.
comic book creators. And he had Tom King on there to talk about the wedding issue and stuff. And King had said that, you know, it's like write what you know and whatever. And he's like, I'm married at this point. I don't know how long he said he'd, you know, been married to his wife. And he's like, I do know love. So that was kind of like the focus and bring into the book. And I know some people can maybe just roll their eyes a little bit and be like, ooh, gag me or whatever. But it's like, I don't know, that makes sense. And I didn't think he like it, it's he writes romance in this, but it's not like I light some candles and you know put on some oh man, who's the saxophone player?
Kenny G.
Kenny G. I don't put on Kenny G, light candles and read these Batman comics and just, you know, shed tears, but I think
Right.
like that's a focal point of this and I feel like it's something different. Like we have this relationship of Batman and Catwoman through the years done expertly by Jeff Loeb and Tim Sale in The Long Halloween. Um, but he did an approach here that's different than what we've seen before. It really takes
Right.
some two levels that we haven't seen before, and not just like in a quick one issue. It was at the end. It's like, gotcha. It was just a dream. It's like, no, it's a long story of the two getting together and then their personalities and how they operate, how that clashes, and how they work through that. And I think Batman Catwoman, the story in itself is like seeing how she is, and especially the three timelines of one in the past, present, and future at Christmas. Where have we heard that before? And like the conflicts that Catwoman has in being herself, but then she's with Batman and she kind of leans toward doing what he does, but then still jumps back to do things the way that she would always do them. How she understands what Andrea Beaumont's doing as Phantasm. And so she like sides with her too. And so it's just like this internal conflict. And then you get to see it in the future timeline when Helena as Batman is, you know, she's a representation of her dad and his ways as Batman and how Catwoman's kind of, or Selena at that point, you know, she's like that conflict there. I just think it's like a really great approach in juggling those three timelines.
Yeah, I think so too. I think it's like you said, it's kind of trying to figure out who is Catwoman and how is she Catwoman or is she Selena in relation to Batman and Bruce Wayne. I think that's like you said, that's what the Joker asked her. And I think that building off of what King did already, you know, he took us up on the roller coaster during his run. We went all the way down to when they didn't get married. And then now we're kind of like on a rickety climb on the way back. Rickety in a
Mm-hmm.
good way. Like it's
Rickety.
shaky. We don't know what's really happening. Like we said, it's romance, but it's really kind of like dark romance because he's kind of rude to her. You know, he's very Batman.
Mm-hmm.
She's hanging out with Joker a lot, but she also wants to be with Bruce, and it's kind of like, what are you doing? So it's just a very interesting dynamic that I don't think, to my knowledge, anybody else has really taken on Batman and Catwoman
Mm-hmm.
in that way.
The it comes at a I think you can would you think that someone can jump into a comic book reader, casual comic book reader, hasn't read all of Tom King's Batman run or maybe hasn't read any of it. Do you think that they could jump into this and pick up on it?
I think you could jump in on this and still
I do
pick
too.
up on like a lot of the stuff. You might miss a
Hmm.
little bit of like a couple of nuggets,
Yeah.
but other than that, you would still be able to understand what's going on.
It's almost like when it's done in stories, different in different media, where general audience can get something out of it. I equated it to me and my Mira, we saw Deadpool Wolverine, and there's a spoiler alert. There's a scene where Blade, it's Wesley Snipes, Deadpool says something back to him, and he says, "There's only one Blade. There will only ever be one Blade." And then it's a cut to Deadpool, like a lower shot with the camera, and it's almost like Deadpool kind of looks down at the camera, like, "Hmm." I laughed because I got two meanings out of that. My Miro laughed for what it was and just
Mhm.
thought like that was just funny, period. And I explained to her after the fact of like, oh, it's kind of just because there's also this continuing drama of Mahershala Ali who is signed on to play Blade, and it keeps getting delayed and postponed shooting. People are dropping from it. So it's like, I'm like, I took it also as like a fun little jab in addition to, and she didn't get that, but it didn't detract her from it at all. So how
Right.
does that relate to here? Specifically, a comment that Selena says to Helena about a pearl, and how Selena says that it's a pearl that she got from Helena's dad the first time they met. Anybody who doesn't know what that references, you got all the information you need right there. You don't need anything else. Us who have read and are familiar with the history, we can picture that that story from Batman #1 in 1940, where he meets Catwoman on the ship and she's stealing jewelry from people on the ship and everything, you know? So we get a little extra out of it. But if somebody doesn't know that, they don't like they're not left hanging by any means.
Right. Yeah, like
So,
it's even the argument that they have on there when they say we met on the boat. No, we met on
mhm,
the street.
yeah,
Same thing.
exactly. We can understand. Oh, they're talking about Batman #1. Oh, they're talking about year one. Anybody else would just take it like at face value, and I think you still get the information you need. So that's kind of how I took this book for the most part as well. The only thing maybe hanging would be Andrea. I can't say her name without that way. Just hear it. Andrea Belmont,
Yeah.
But if somebody's reading this, I would guarantee they've watched Mask of the Phantasm, you
Yeah,
know?
I don't think
Like
that there's not too much Phantasm content that
uh-uh.
I know of outside of Mask of the Phantasm.
Batman,
I think it was in
Batman
Batman
Adventures.
Beyond.
Well,
Was it Batman Beyond?
um oh man, we got the Google machine. But I think the because I read this again recently, the Batman and Robin Adventures annual #1 is like
Okay.
the sequel to Mask of the Phantasm.
Okay.
And Batman Beyond, I don't know if there's this is great stuff. I don't know that the original yeah, I don't know. I'm so Batman Beyond, I'm not as good. I haven't seen everything with Batman Beyond. It's one that I'm like, it's okay. I don't love it. I don't hate it. It's okay. So I'm not like an expert in that.
Yeah, I got you. I think she was only in there for like maybe like 2 minutes. It was
Okay.
short.
Okay. This so this was it's funny that we've just gradually made our way right to her, but that was the image that was teased out when this book was first announced. Was that great image with Phantasm? Do you remember this?
Yeah, I remember it. It was that image is crazy. It's top tier work from Clay Mann. I think he did me and you talk about he was selling his art, I think, on his website, and that was one of like the original of this one. I don't know if we
I
talked about that or not.
hmm. I don't know if we
Because I
did.
think we were
Tell me
talking about
more. Tell
buying
me
like
more.
I think we were talking about buying like Clay Mann art a long time ago. And he was selling like I don't know, like original prints of this. And I think it was like
Oh my gosh.
in the ballpark of like 7 grand to 10 grand.
This might surprise you. I just don't have that to spend on Clayman's art. I'm sorry, Clay. I wish I did. But I'm trying to find the image itself so I can accurately describe. Do you remember exactly what that that image was, because I don't think so. What I'm typing into Google right now is
Mhm.
showing that cover to issue one and the cover of the hardcover where Catwoman's behind Batman. But
Yep.
I'm thought that the first image was had Phantasm on it.
I thought it was that same cover too, that same photo as well, but I could be wrong. The Google machine tells no lies.
And never does. But maybe I'm projecting. Because here we go. Yeah, so the one where it's Phantasm's face and then the her weapon
Scythe
has the
sickle.
yeah, has the reflection of Batman and
Oh, that
Catwoman
one.
of that cover that we're all familiar with. Okay, now I'm finding it. Okay, here we go. Thank you. The BatmanUniverse.net. That pulled it up. And this article was written June 11th, 2019.
Okay.
Oh
So
my
right before,
goodness.
like a little while.
This is like a year and a half before the first issue came out.
Yeah, they gave it a good head start
Goodness
on that
gracious.
image.
What a great image that is though. I'm glad I didn't make that up because I couldn't find this and I'm like, man, I swear this is true. But then I was looking at the covers of individual issues. I'm showing Austin now the cover to issue number 3, and I'm like, maybe I'm making that up because that's a similar one, except it's only Catwoman in the reflection. Um,
Yeah, I got that one too. But
so I don't know. So anyways, okay, well, while we're on Phantasm, let's talk
mhm,
Phantasm. That's a character
let's
I'm
go.
surprised. I appreciate and I'm surprised that she's used very sparingly in the DC universe,
Yeah.
because that makes Mask of the Phantasm more special to me because at the end of it, yeah, it's hard to see like why would she be sticking around and turn into like a member of Batman's Rogues Gallery? You know, it feels like her story is kind of complete. And it like I said, it's so hazy to me that Batman and Robin Adventures annual, what happens in that one. Um, but yeah, where do you stand on her limited inclusion in all things DC?
I always felt like they could have used Phantasm more. When did
Okay.
Mask of the Phantasm come out?
93.
93 when I was
Yeah.
1 year old. Um yeah, so I feel like they could have used like they should have used her more anytime during the 90s most likely. At least in the 2010s I felt like. So there was just a lot of times when they could have brought Phantasm up when they didn't have a Batman
Hmm.
villain or a story to go to. Like the early 2000s were a lot of interesting Batman stories. So you could have brought her back at any point in time.
Yeah.
Um, so I just feel like Tom King likes to bring back or bring out kind of obscure or characters that are less used, let's say.
Hmm.
Like I think he
Oh,
even used
like
what was
Kite
it?
Man?
Like Kite Man. Well, now I guess he's not so obscure anymore.
He's not.
Um, Sewer King from
Oh yeah. Yeah.
BTAS. So I think he just enjoys kind of like James Gunn does, using a little bit of characters that aren't totally
Sure.
utilized all the time.
Yeah. I so it seemed just because aesthetically when she's the Phantasm, one of the coolest freaking villains Batman's ever faced. Like I remember as a kid even seeing um I remember seeing the commercial slash trailer on some VHS tape for it. And I just thought like, like this is like a scary Grim Reaper or something. And I think aesthetically it's very pleasing to me because it's a very cool looking character. For Andrea herself, I don't know the how they can make her appear often and have it work and make sense and be true to the character, be true to Batman and all that. So when I do remember, like when it was announced, I was very excited because first of all, I liked what Tom King was doing with Batman. And then it was like, okay, bringing her back. Oh, I'm really like just curiosity and in a very optimistic way of like, what's he going to do with her? How's it going to work? I think it is very organic, especially by story's end, her inclusion in this story. and
Yes, I
how
agree.
she is absent from the past timeline. Obviously, she's very, very involved in the present timeline, and then she does get referenced in the future timeline. And we're gonna spoil everything here in case you know anybody hasn't read it. But I thought that it worked very, very well how she was used in this story. And it just looks like she's not someone who is being a vigilante on her own anyway, because you find out by issue, the end of issue one, she goes and she digs up basically her costume. Like she's
Right.
the Dark Phantasm returns, essentially, by issue's end. And the point that why that works so well is because her son is missing and he is found, and it looks like he was murdered by the Joker.
Right.
As anybody reading this has probably watched Mask of the Phantasm, they know Andrea Beaumont does not like the Joker. She has a bad history with the Joker, and now he apparently has killed her son. Ah, shit.
Ah,
Ah, shit. And hell hath no fury for a pissed off mother if it deals with her boy. And so
especially when
the
she has a scythe sickle.
yes, um, in a badass costume. And so then it plays out where essentially she's working her way toward the Joker, but she's just going after anybody who is or has worked with him and
Right.
just murder. Nothing but murder, in which one of them, even Catwoman, stands witness, and she in Phantasm even says, like, now's the time that you're supposed to stop me, and Catwoman doesn't. And then she says to the guy that's there, your angel of death awaits, and then the blood splatters, and Catwoman's just watching. Catwoman's kind of, and that's part of what we've already referenced of like that's where Catwoman's kind of like,
Not like
conflicted.
Batman.
Uh-huh. She's not like
Right.
Batman, she's more Catwoman. And it's like I love that Tom King, and we'll get back to Phantasm, but doing that with Catwoman here because it's like he doesn't abandon the character because there is a lot of a push now of kind of like anti-hero, not a villain. So Catwoman's leaned more anti-hero. Harley Quinn definitely has turned anti-hero. I know in her own comic series, Poison Ivy's kind of anti-hero. And it's like, I mean, sure, some of it's interesting, but I kind of do miss where like they're villains, flat out
Right.
villains. So, but like Catwoman's always towed that line. So I think King does a really good balancing act with her of she doesn't go too far either way.
Yeah, I think that with Phantasm, first off, that time when she was getting the guy on the train, that was my favorite.
Awesome. Ah,
That was my favorite. Those scenes, man,
yeah, that art is so
beautifully
good.
drawn. Yeah, the art. Hot take. What if I said this Clayman's art in Batcat
Mhm.
is his Hush, like Jim Lee's version of Hush?
I
Hot
believe it.
take.
I don't think it's a hot take at all. I would be completely surprised. So I was surprised that first of all, this hardcover was released so quickly after it ended. So if the last
Right.
issue came out in June of 2022, I don't know when the hardcover came out. I can see what year it was printed. It was printed in 2022. So it came out in 2022. So at some point between June and December, this came out. But I was surprised that it was like a regular size. Putting it up next
Yeah,
to
without
you and
the
I have the deluxe edition Tom King run, every book. It's going to be a little different, not going to match right with that. I expect there to be a deluxe edition of this at some point, and I expect an absolute edition of this at some point too.
I would definitely buy the Absolute Edition. That is definitely, yeah, that would be something I would have to get.
Yep.
I the only
I
thing I wish they would have done with this one, I wish they would have made it the deluxe size as well, but they didn't do that with Killing Time either, so
yeah. So that's yeah, so another thing that's a little a little surprising, but obviously it wasn't a deal breaker because I bought both of those. I think if they did a deluxe edition, um, I'd probably hold off just because I'm sitting right here with physical copies of each issue, and then I've got
Right.
the hardcover. I don't need to get a deluxe edition, and then inevitably, when an Absolute's announced, buy that. I'm
Right.
looking on Amazon. It says that the hardcover was released December 20th, 2022. So basically 6 months
Yeah.
after it ended. Um, on which this hardcover also a big plus. So it collects Batman and Catwoman. It also collects the Batman Catwoman special, but then it also includes stuff that Tom King's written, like Batman Annual #2, which we all know is one of the best issues of Batman that Tom King's ever written. Um, that's a great story. It also has part of Detective Comics 1027, written by Tom King, and then it's also got a story from the Catwoman 80th anniversary 100-page super spectacular #1. But that was one that was focused around Helena. But I'm glad that this hardcover included all these stories because they all do fit in uh the storyline that Tom King's conceived with Catwoman, more so than just like Batman and
Did the
Catwoman.
deluxe edition have stuff the single issues didn't?
What do you mean?
Like our
Oh, in the
single issues?
hardcover?
Yeah, in the hardcover.
Oh, thanks. You just reminded me of something. Aside from those short stories, no. And there isn't
Okay.
even really any bonus content other than, variant covers. And then they don't have something that does bug me in collected versions of stories is it doesn't say, it splits up by issues, and it does,
Mhm.
when you're starting another issue because it's got the cover, but nothing says what issue it is.
Yeah, I wish they would put it at least on the back side of the page. Say,
Yeah,
hey,
like
issue 10, whatever.
issue, yeah, exactly. Um that's not included, but then also every issue opens with,
With the house.
yes, with the advent calendar basically. And each
Mhm.
one in each issue you see it's that house and you're opening a door, and and it says what song, like what Christmas song, and that's what opens up every issue. Another freaking awesome touch, by the way. And so yeah, you get to issue 12, and it has, every door is open, and every chapter, what it's called and which song and everything. Well, that's not none of those are in the collected edition, which I thought was strange. um but the hardcover has, they call it Batman Catwoman Credits House by Clay Mann, and so it's not filled out, and it's
It's
just
filled
black and
out.
white of the house, and all the
Uh,
doors are closed. So that was kind of interesting. um I I don't necessarily care.
I
Like,
don't care
oh my
about the
God, I got
house without
robbed.
the stuff, without the Christmas song titles in it. I'm like, it's just a house.
Yeah, but interesting that that's what was in every issue and they didn't include it at all. Like that's more of like a so a completist that I am, I'll hang on to
Hmm.
the physical issues because I'm like that they have that and the hardcover doesn't. The absolute. So I'm just gonna keep saying it until it,
Till
becomes,
it happens.
until it exists. Yeah. When the absolute comes, my money is on they'll have each house, or at least at the very end it completely filled out. Just throwing that out there. Hear me,
Just saying.
DC? Give us the absolute we deserve. So Phantasm goes on a killing spree, basically goes after Catwoman, kidnaps her, kind of gives her a little bit of free reign, but then also um puts Batman in a peculiar situation.
Yeah, the
And it's
fight they
all,
had was also pretty great.
you remember which
Taking
chapter that
each,
was?
I think it was in that chapter. I think it's on like page 54. Not
Oh
that the
my
book has
goodness.
pages.
Yeah. Oh,
It
that
is,
that Phantasm
yeah,
when she breaks into the manor.
breaks into the manor and they have the
Yeah,
huge fight, knock each other out the window. Yeah, that
yeah,
one,
that's a good one.
like that
Um,
art right there. That was pretty good. Like that.
yeah,
They
Oh
like
yeah.
break the glass. Yeah.
Let's see. So that's obviously the present storyline. I do also, and it would make sense, but the nods to Mask of the Phantasm that King presents throughout this, like I forget the name of the robot in the World's Fair.
Why do I not remember that now?
I
Hold on,
know,
let's
right? You can picture it. Everybody that I'm talking, like everybody hears me saying that they can picture, but I'm like, oh my gosh, and Joker has our chopped baloney. Um, like that's popped in there. The World's Fair, it shows like Phantasm going walking through there again and stuff.
yep.
And you
That
already said
angle, yep.
Sewer King from animated series. So I love the respect and the nods to that area of Batman lore as well. Um that so I think it's so how does this relate to the other two timelines? Okay. This is where Catwoman to me is the focal point of the whole story because like I said, we're attached to her hip throughout and we're witnessing her witness Phantasm killing people and
Mhm.
she's not interfering. Let's go to the past timeline. Catwoman has a very interesting relationship with Joker.
Very interesting, to
Very
say the
interesting.
least.
And I think just like 2 pages after that fight you're talking about, even she's going to crack a safe that Joker's in, and when you turn the page and you see Joker folded up in that safe, fuck, awesome
Yeah,
image.
that page was so creepy when I first saw it. I'm like,
Yeah,
what am I looking at?
that's so creepy when Selina is decorating the Christmas tree and Joker's in the Christmas tree.
Yep.
That image is awesome. And also like I love Tom King's dialogue between Selina and Joker in all of these scenes when they're not necessarily fighting, when it's like because there's something that's it's interesting to me when it's not done as a gimmick, but it just like it could come across very genuine of Joker coming across genuine to Selina slash Catwoman.
Yeah, I thought Joker was really like his dialogue in this book was very very good. I don't know, it was
Mm-hmm.
very I don't know, he was funny.
Uh-huh.
It was creepy,
Yes.
but him being creepy is kind of funny sometimes.
Yeah. Yeah, you
Like
feel
when
you laugh
yeah,
and feel kind of bad that you laughed because what he said was not nice. But
right,
it
like
was funny.
he's decorating Christmas trees with people. He's talking about making people into reindeer.
Hmm.
He's making fun of Phantasm with her line. He's like,
Yeah.
"What is it again? Your
Yeah.
angel of something, some." Yeah. So
So you're building on this past relationship that Selena has with Joker and how she's I keep saying conflicted because I think that is her and this whole story is conflicted with at the ice rink downtown. Selena knows because Joker told her he put a bomb underneath this heavily populated ice rink. She knows, and she doesn't know if she should tell Batman or not. And Joker, I think he loves this because this is total Joker of like it's funny to him no matter what she does.
right,
And I think that's the strongest point of Joker is like he loves the joke where it's like, I got you, you move left, it's hilarious. You move right, it's hilarious. Both are wins for me, both are losses for you. And I think he puts her in that predicament, which is like is great. He's he is who Phantasm's pursuing, and Catwoman doesn't just flat out jump in like, yeah, get rid, like take him out. She's conflicted with Phantasm doing that. The future timeline, it opens up. Selena goes to Florida as old lady Selena, which actually she looks like a young old with Clay Mann. Liam Sharp draws her very old.
yeah, yeah. She looks real old, Liam Sharp. Clay Mann makes her. I don't know. She looks like she's like 58.
Yeah, maybe like a Holly Berry 58, like
Right.
yeah, yeah, okay, yeah, the numbers don't lie, but you don't look old and yeah, Sharp had her like, oh, she could be 79. Um Joker looks like hell. as an old man. But I think that whole reveal of who she's going to talk to is great and it's patient. And then she ends up killing Joker by end of issue 2, I think, in the future. And I
Yep,
think that's done really well.
I think it was by the end of issue. Yeah, it was by the end of issue 2. And that one scene where Clayman drew like Joker shooting, trying to shoot her, and she's
Hmm.
like standing behind him.
Yeah.
That was real great. Creepy too.
Yep. And I guess you could say this is a continuation of snippets of their relationship we saw in the main Batman title that King wrote, especially like in the church.
Yep.
And Selena, I mean, similar, she does it here, like she does there in the church issues Batman 48. 48 and 49 is the two-part story. I think she cuts him in issue 48, but scratches his throat to where like he's gonna bleed out and he holds himself. And she does it here, except we see definitely like he bleeds out. That sets into motion the rest of the future timeline where it is Dick Grayson now the acting commissioner. And then I mean they say Selena calls Helena Batman. Um but
Yeah,
basically
not
Helena,
Batwoman. Yeah.
yeah. So Helena is the Bat in Gotham in this future. And now they're both after Selena to arrest her because of the murder of the Joker in Florida. Also interesting. Also in that future timeline, we get Danny DeVito Penguin,
Yep.
a really brutal cat taking out a penguin. I
Yep.
don't,
Animal lovers would
I
not
don't,
be
yeah,
happy.
I don't like that one
That
because
scene.
I like penguins and I like cats, and I feel
Oh,
like
so
it's sad.
you're really conflicted.
Yeah, that one hurt me a little bit inside, but I think the dynamic of those three, and we really see a lot of. So there you go. There's scenes of Helena and Dick where Catwoman's not around. So there's portions of the story where Catwoman isn't present, but I think it's interesting predicaments that each one of them are in. Helena more so is more the most conflicted about it because it's turning in her mom. Um, I like when Dick gets the SWAT team to invade Wayne Manor and Catwoman answers and I wish I knew which chapter it was, but she basically says of like, "Oh, Dick, did you want, a cucumber sandwich?" Uh, oh, Dick, what a pleasant surprise. I apologize. I did not think I'd see you again so soon. I would have had a meal waiting or something, at least some cucumber sandwiches. How are you? And Dick says, Selena Kyle, under the authority granted to me as the police commissioner of Gotham City, and placing you under arrest for the murder of the Joker. She says, well, that makes sense. And she goes, I was wondering how there were so many people on the property. It seemed odd to bring them along if you were just coming over for cucumber sandwiches. And he says, how badly is this going to go, Selena? And I'm trying to think, I thought like somewhere where she says to him of like it wasn't enough.
Yeah,
Like,
I think before they go to arrest her,
that's
he's like,
right.
we have all of these cops and all of this stuff and drones. And he's like, yeah, it's not gonna be enough.
We got 6 snipers on the roof, 7 across the street, 10 ATVs deployed at every exit, 4 birds, 5 drones in the air, 56 SWAT personnel, Gotham National Guard are on call. Anything else? And he's like, no, 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 it's all good. It's just not enough. So yeah, literally right before what I just read, he's just like, it's not enough.
A crazy amount
Love
of
that. Yeah.
personnel.
Yeah. To take her out and yet Dick knows. He's like, it's not gonna go well. That's in the 3 Liam Sharp issues. Now, when this came out, I had I wouldn't even say negative, less positive um thoughts of these 3 issues when they first came out. Upon rereading, I liked it a lot more than I did before.
I'll say my because I remember picking up the book in the comic shop. I didn't look inside it because
Yeah.
I didn't know Clay Mann wasn't going to be on that issue. And when I got home and opened it, I'm like, oh, they're just doing, a quick little page or two with a different artist. And I'm like, what? Whose art is this? What are we
Yeah.
doing? I don't know. I felt like it kind of originally it threw me off of the story because like I got used to the visuals of trying to figure out like past, the present, and the future.
Hmm.
And then I'm like, well, which timeline are we in? What's going on here? Who are you? I don't know. His phantasm looks like completely different.
Hmm.
Um,
His Joker does a Bill Sienkiewicz weird, like long, exaggerated line that just kind of goes on too much.
yeah,
And I'm not a Sienkiewicz fan, really. Like his art just doesn't work for me. And it's not because it's like like sloppy, strange, exaggerated looks, because there are a lot of artists where that works and I like it. And it's just it doesn't work for me. And those when he has those moments in here, I'm like, eh, but there's less of them than what less of
yeah.
them than what I remember.
Than what I remember, because when I remember disliking it rather strongly, but
Hmm.
reading it recently for this for the podcast, I didn't I didn't like it, but I just didn't hate it.
Sure. I actually I really like the getting there, the full page split between Batman and Bruce
Oh yeah, that was
faces.
good.
I
Yeah.
think that's really well done. I really like that setup by King in that part of the story where in Catwoman, in order to get away, they've locked him up. So Catwoman and Phantasm have locked him up. Let's see, and handcuffed behind his back, naked, and left a note. Hey, hon, just FYI, you're in a vault in the basement of the Bank of Gotham, and I already set off the alarm. I'm going home with Andrea, to kill the Joker. Sorry and good luck. Love you. And it's like it's just in order for her to get away to do this, to give him a head start at least. And then I really like how Bruce gets out of it.
Yeah. Real brutal, real.
Brutal. He pulls a Hannibal Lecter and dresses up as a police officer that's bloody, and then takes out the other officer. And that's how Batman gets away. But he pulls the pin out of his foot that he sticks in the back of his foot, which we see in the future Selena has picked up on because she does it too. I
Didn't
just think
catch that.
all that's
Nice.
awesome. The takeaway of these three Sharp issues, though, is we get the big revelation of Andrea's son, because we're led to believe like that Phantasm's gonna get Joker. Okay, well, we're only in issue 7 at this point. Okay, are they really gonna end it here? And then we open up issue 8 of a family at Christmas and a doorbell ringing, and we go to the door, and there's Phantasm and Joker together side by side. And I was kind of forgetting here for a little bit, like, oh wait, what was the story? In short, Joker breaks the news to Phantasm that this family lost a son, which ended up being Andrea's son, which then is like, hey, how does that work? You find out by book's end, Joker ended up in a cabin in the woods. Phantasm tracked him down. So this was post Mask of the Phantasm. Phantasm tracked him down to take him out, but he's holding a baby and basically makes her make the choice as he tosses the baby in the air of save the kid or kill me. Which one are you going to do? Well, she saves the baby, raises the baby, thinks that it was Joker made her believe it was his kid. So she took him under her wing. And then now she finds out that actually this child was this family's and they never knew what happened to their kid, went missing, nothing. Tom King, you met him, said he was a nice guy. I talked to him. He's a nice guy. This guy's got some twisted thoughts.
Yeah, the thoughts are definitely kind of, yeah, they're definitely wild. Now that you said that, does this not to take away from your No Man's Land um breakdowns, but is this kind of like the ending of No Man's Land? Kind of?
Mm, I never thought of that.
I just thought of it just
I
now.
know what you're referencing. Um, Maybe kind of a distant cousin, except
Okay, I
this
didn't know if
Joker,
maybe he was inspired by
this
that or something.
maybe. It's an interesting point. This Joker doesn't shed a tear after the fact, which I appreciate. Because I didn't buy that in No Man's Land. Yeah, that's I don't know, that's interesting. But I thought that like this story, this plot point, this really worked for me this time more than in the past, I think.
Yeah, I think when I first read it, I'm like, did they have a baby together?
Yeah, and I was like, what?
I'm like, why?
The text dialogue has not changed from when it was released in 21 and 22 and now, but for some reason, yeah, I think I was it was a little more unclear to me for some reason then than now of like what the real story is. And it's like, oh yeah, okay, yeah, yeah. Okay. All right, yeah. Oh, that's tragic. Oh, that's sad. The best
That's dark.
stories are when bad things happen to people. Oh, great. Um, I'm trying to think what I can't think of what leads directly because that's not resolved. Like we find out this information with the kid in like chapters 8 and 9, and then more
Yep.
of the backstory of Phantasm and Joker in maybe 10 or 11. Also concurrently, we then get Selena fighting Joker in two timelines and then fighting Helena in the future timeline. That's intercut really cool. Really well done.
Yeah. I think some of them line up even. Like the
Yeah.
timelines line up.
Usually like
Yeah.
with her long legs kicking some ass from like the same angle in three different timelines. Well done, Clayman. Um well, one like a high point in a lot of these Selena Joker scenes too is when he's at the Christmas shop. Ugh,
Oh yeah.
total
Yeah.
comic booky, but I love it.
Yeah, I think that was the first issue Clayman was back on after like being off for a couple issues.
Yeah,
So
does a great job. And I just turned to a page two where uh Helena's in a bat cave and it's the animated series Batmobile. So that was another nod that I remember of like, oh yeah, great. Animated series. Flipping through. I'm trying to think of what point. Okay. Well, we said spoilers. Trying to think of so I can accurately quote it, but maybe you remember better where Selena and Catwoman and Batman meet Phantasm on the roof,
mhm.
and Phantasm takes herself out.
Yes.
Why
I
does she
think
do that, Austin?
she did that because she punishes people who do the wrong thing.
Hmm.
And then she realized that she took away someone's son without telling them. I
Hmm.
mean, she had the baby in the cabin and she just felt sorry for the baby, but she never tried to find out who the parents were, so she just took the kid in basically as her adopted son. But like she says in the book, I had my son while another mother was crying about you,
Hmm.
like not knowing where your son was or what had happened. So she realized that I am also a bad person. So my angel of death awaits.
And then I think she's being a little hard on herself.
I wasn't expecting her to do that the first time I read it.
Me neither. And reading it this time as well, it was just kind of like, Andrea, you're being a little hard on yourself here. That's
There are a couple
like,
of options, some steps we could have taken before we get to
yeah,
that point.
yeah. And all of it was unknowingly. Like you didn't purposely take someone else's kid and make them suffer and cry and all that. And like, ah, Andrea. It's pretty. That was a shocker. It was the end of issue 11. So then it blows my mind of like how it ends on that note on issue 11, and then you're like, all right, now we're at the last chapter of the story, and it's happy. It's
Time
like
to time to get
happy
married.
time to get married, happy wedding day pictures, and then all these different bat cats together from different eras over the years and everything, and it's like, okay, well that's interesting. And the last chapter is called, let's see, Oh Holy Night.
Did you play the Christmas songs while you read each chapter?
I didn't, but we are 2 months away from the Christmas season.
Okay.
Maybe I'll read this again come December and I'll just play in each
Each
issue. So
song.
Oh Holy Night, I'll just play it on repeat while I read the issue.
I did that for like the first three issues, and
Yeah.
then
Then you got
I got
tired.
tired of Christmassy music.
Well then issues are like it's May. It's all right. Well, I mean, maybe I'm not in the mood to listen to a Christmas song right now.
Right,
Um
for like 30 minutes.
in that last issue is when I referenced it earlier about the one pearl between Selena and Helena.
Mhm.
Um, the conversation between the two at the table and how frustrated Helena gets with Selena. I think that's such a like kind of an accurate portrayal on how it can be with sometimes elderly folks, elderly parents, and talking with them. I think that was demonstrated pretty well. I miss Alfred Pennyworth in the monthly Batman titles because how like he's in this story throughout. I always loved Alfred Selena dynamic. I think that always works really well. But then it's at Christmas and his little dialogue exchange with her and how in one of these he didn't expect her to be there so early and he always apologizes that he didn't have breakfast ready for her. And then he goes off to go make breakfast for her. I'm like, what a gentleman. I want an Alfred.
R.I.P. Alfred. One day he'll
Yeah.
come back.
He bet like yeah, one day he will. And I know there are stories that get created where Alfred's alive and it feels like a classic Batman story. Those are the ones I like more than the monthly ones. Um, and this is the issue where yeah, we do get Batman and Catwoman do get married. I'm gonna reference it again. Them not getting married was always a part of the story. It was DC doing the hardcore marketing like they were gonna. Go back and listen to the episode with Tom King. He does explain it in detail. They need to have two witnesses. I like how Selena goes all hokey with the matrimony package. She's like, let's lean into it. And then they get two witnesses, Clark Kent, Lois Lane, because obviously. I'm flipping through my issue 12 and it says it's promoting Batman number 125, failsafe. Yeah. In this
Yeah,
issue.
I looked through the issues. It's like the beginning one, it's like the Batman is coming, like the movie.
Oh
And then
yeah.
like by the end of the issues, it's like buy the Batman on
Yeah.
Blu-ray.
League of Super Pets, only in theaters, July 29th. And then yeah, right there, like you just said, and at the very back, the Batman, revolutionary, electric, and exhilarating. Like it's got reviews for it. Um, so we do get a nice surprise. Selena ends up through all this drama in the future timeline with Helena and Dick. She does end up getting away. She's packing and she goes on a nice trip to someplace tropical and warm. And who she meet up with? Andrea Beaumont.
Gasp. Shock.
What? Record scratch.
Right.
And we get, and maybe the most expository moment I don't know how Tom King can explain to us how without it just coming flat out and just having her say it. But we learned that the end of issue 11, that wasn't Andrea Beaumont stabbing herself. It was Clayface. Oh, Clayface.
Oh, Clayface. Told you
Performance of a
it's kind of
lifetime.
like Hush.
Yeah, exactly. I was going to say performance of a lifetime as Jason Todd and as the Phantasm. So basically she's Selena's happily ever after because if this future timeline, you do get the sense, and you know why, but if you read that annual number 2, you do know that Bruce Wayne has passed away. And so Selena happily ever after in the tropics with her friend Andrea Beaumont. The present timeline, Selena is marrying Batman slash Bruce Wayne, while Adam West Batman is the efficient. And na Mazel Tov. Fantastic. And then yeah, the story ends where they are Batcat forever from the first kiss to the last. And I think this is it for an ending. It's almost like the name of the Smashing Pumpkins song for Batman and Robin. It's like the end is the beginning is the end. The
Yeah.
beginning is the end is the beginning. Like that's kind of how I feel Tom King's expertly crafted his Batcat story to me is kind of like that. This isn't like, oh yeah, the final chapter of the story. Annual number 2 isn't necessarily like the final chapter of the story because you know that like like I don't know, it's just I think he has it's a great way of mixing all of it to where it all does fit as one big kind of epic story between Batcat.
Right. Like a giant love saga, really, if you will. Like it gives, like he leaves space, at the end for people to build on if they want to,
Hmm.
like to come on, like to do their own Batcat, build on that romance. But I don't know how people are feeling about Batcat nowadays. Like
Oh,
the
yeah,
Batman Catwoman relationship.
yeah. I don't I don't know. I haven't done a poll in a long time.
I just feel like it's very assumed now. It's just like, yeah, that's who he's with.
Yeah. Uh, there was so it's I mean it's included in this. It's not an outlier per se, but it's the Batman Catwoman special
Hmm.
that I mentioned, written by Tom King. Originally, art was going to be by John Paul Leon. Um, he's sadly passed away, and what I read, he'd only completed the first 13 pages, to which to which then I only mentioned half the names. Um, it says John Paul Leon, Mitch Gerrits, Bernard Chang, and Sean Crystal are all credited as artists, with Dave Stewart and Mitch Gerrits as colorists for that book, for the special. I think
Hmm.
it's kind of a seamless issue. Usually, books slash issues that have multiple artists on it, you can like it's
You
kind of
could tell.
obvious in
Yeah.
telling where one artist ends, another one begins. I think this blends really, really well.
Yeah,
And the
I thought they did.
story that it tells is really sad. So again, Tom King,
Yeah.
you're a nice guy. You bring messed up ideas and sadness to characters.
Yeah. I felt like by the end of that issue was one of the few times I've ever like, am I about to tear up right now reading a Batman book?
Yeah.
I think this one, I know I at the end of No Man's Land as well. Check that out on the YouTube channel.
Boop, boop.
You guys will get there eventually, right?
Yes. We have been talking about making it happen. Active discussions of like, it's gonna be this month, and then yeah, it's before the end of the year. It's gonna be done. Um,
Okay.
yeah, but I thought did you read it? the special as soon as it came out too?
Yeah, I read it as soon as it came out.
Okay. It's if anybody hasn't read it, read it. But it's basically just going through Selena Kyle's life at Christmas times around the year.
Of
But there's
sadness.
some, yeah, there's some like sad moments with her and Bruce. Sad of her, how she, her as a kid growing up. Some touching moments written by King, but then, yeah, especially where Selena goes to to the tombstone there towards the end, and then basically how the issue whoops, how the issue ends. Like,
Freudian slip.
yeah, it's it loops to kind of to the beginning. There's some similarities there, but then it's pretty tragic too. I like to hope that that's not like I just said like 5 minutes ago, she lives happily ever after in a tropical area somewhere. That's where I like to pretend.
Pretend where it ended. Like we don't really
Yeah,
need to
and
stop at
maybe
58. She doesn't need to go to
yeah.
75.
I don't think I don't know that I need to read the last page of the special every time, and then I
Hmm.
can just lie to myself. uh
Yeah.
I've kind of
This-
I've talked a lot, Austin, and we've jumped all
mhm.
over the place. Are there any parts that we haven't talked about that you definitely wanted to highlight?
I feel like we got to hit up a little bit of Batman. We haven't talked too much actual Batman, like what he
Oh, okay.
does in the
So
book.
he's in this.
He is in this.
He does sleep with Selena a lot.
There is a lot of um cuddling.
Yes. A lot of cuddles.
Um, but yeah, I feel like whenever Batman actually does show up, like his fight scenes are good.
Yeah.
Um, his fight scene in the vault, his fights
When he
with
shows
the
up
henchmen.
after Selena puts or gets Riddler to climb in a dumpster to quote unquote hide. And
Yeah,
then
that was a
Batman
great.
shows up standing in front of the Batmobile, which is the 89 Batmobile. And headlights on. He looks great. Like Clayman does such awesome art, period. But like definitely like Batman poses, action, like everything Batman, there's so many good shots of him. And that one quickly comes to mind of him standing in front of the Batmobile.
Yeah, like you said, a lot of good Batman action poses, shots. Like even when he's talking to Phantasm, he's just like, Captain Morgan and like talking to her. And it
Yeah.
just looks cool. I'm just like, look at that
Uh-huh.
guy. Such a cool guy.
Yeah, he's always got that leg up.
Yeah. What else? I mean, obviously we talked about their dynamic. I thought when they were on top of the roof, the same one as that they issue 12,
Hmm.
but when he's asking her about the bomb, I thought those pages were really good.
Yeah.
When he was asking her, he's like, "Where is the Joker?" And she's like, "You can come down, you can like chase me, you can beat me up, make me scared. Like that's what you do to the people that are against you." So I thought that was good. And just seeing him standing there on top of the what would you even call that? Pinnacle of the tower?
On like
Parapet?
yeah, I don't know. The top of the church, right?
Yeah, that one.
Which issue are you at?
I am talking about I'm looking on Hoopla, but
Hoopla! Greatest app of all time.
I'm in issue 4, the end of
Okay,
issue 4.
I'm getting there. I know a part that we haven't talked about that I'll get to here in a second. Okay. Yeah, yes, well done. I really like that scene of the two of them talking. And I think that demonstrates a really good it's a good representation of the conflict, the inner conflict that Selena has throughout the whole story. That I've mentioned conflict a lot. I should have said at the beginning that this is a drinking game for conflict. A lot of people would be hammered by now, but it's a good representation of like, and especially where he's, where he's standing and looking down on her, in a commanding position, eyes glowing, looks like great Batman, but in her position as well of like she doesn't like it's not condescension, but it's he's more powerful than her and almost like her resistance to you can't treat me like you treat everybody else.
Right. I always took it as kind of like in Tom King's original run when she said, "Don't demand it, like ask."
Yeah. Yeah.
Like, yeah, that's how I kind of took it. Like, Batman's always like, "Tell me this now."
Mm-hmm.
You could
Where are the other
ask.
drugs going? Excuse me, can you ask me where are the
Can
other
you
drugs
ask?
going?
Yeah, first. Yeah. So that's how I always took it. So I
Yeah.
think that's what Selena like offends her so much.
Yeah. That's cool.
So yeah, I think I know what you're going to talk about next though, but I think
Yes, go ahead.
are we talking about the very next chapter or issue 5? Talking about
I
Harley
don't
Quinn.
know what happens. Yeah, buddy. Can't believe I haven't talked about that yet. How fun was that?
That was cool. Not anti-hero Harley Quinn there. Not
No.
anti-hero Harley
She's
Quinn.
driving Cruella DeVille's car,
Yep.
which I dig that. I dug it when I first saw it. And I like how she comes out and she's all because Selena's just she hears the crash and then she goes and checks it out and sure enough Harley's crashed into one of the trees on the property and she's getting out of her car. I think is she drinking or is she just like
Uh
woozy from crashing?
nah, I think she's just woozy from crashing. She just has like she has a bomb, a rubber
Okay.
chicken, a knife. Yeah, she just has a bunch
Makes
of stuff.
sense. She comes fully equipped with everything. Bomb, knife, rubber chicken. Um, yeah,
Mallet.
okay, that's why Selena ends up at a bar getting drunk and then takes out the bartender and even tells him how she's gonna do it. I think that's a great classic Selena moment. But yeah, I think I love the fight between her and Harley and how Harley even is, you know, even says, "You killed Mr. J. You killed the love of my life. You turned the page, it's a full page before I got to." And it's like that feels like
You're
Harley
like, get in
Quinn.
line. Get in
Yep,
line.
like that's really good. Yeah, that was a lot of fun. Because yeah, how could you? I mean, to that point, it's like I wasn't. I didn't forget. I just wasn't remembering. That Harley shows up, but it makes total sense that somehow in the future, after her Mr. J is killed, that Harley would show up. Like totally makes sense that she would somehow, especially if it's Selena. Like I don't know. I think that's a great moment.
Yeah. And I think it also weaves into like all the other stuff that King was doing where he was saying that all of the villains, they weren't friends, but they were like professional colleagues.
Hmm.
Like, you would check up on somebody. Like if something happened to somebody you knew that you used to work with, you would like check in.
Yeah. Yep.
So when you realize that the Joker is dead, Harley is like, well, I have one place that I need to go.
Yep. I need to go get a cat. Take out
Yeah,
that cat.
I also found it interesting like how everybody knows that Helena is Bruce and Selena's daughter,
Yeah.
like Penguin does. I don't know, I just thought that was interesting. I'm like, we're
Hmm.
just letting that secret out, huh? We just decided no secret identity.
Yeah. It's the CW approach. Everybody knows there are no secrets. Everybody's got powers. Everybody's special. That's how it is.
Yeah, so
Um, flip it through. How about you got anything else? 'Cause I have some questions for you.
I think that's it. I think we hit all the major stuff. We weaved in and out just like the three timelines.
We
Um,
did. And a lot of timelines for us. Well, let me ask you some questions then, Austin.
okay.
Yes, you've got a question?
Most challenging part of our discussion.
Hmm.
What was your favorite part of Batman Catwoman?
Favorite parts. I think favorite part is any time when the Phantasm was on the page. Yeah, just give me more Phantasm.
Oh, okay.
So yeah, I just think that Phantasm she's such a
Narrows
cool
it down.
character,
Narrows it
such a
down.
cool character. Um, if I had to pick a particular part, I'll say when she was fighting Selena. Great action shots,
Hmm.
great art, great Phantasm content. I just feel like we all are in need of Phantasm content, and we're just not getting enough of it. So I can only watch Master of
Fair.
the Phantasm, and I have to read this book, and
Yeah.
then
Track down that
that
other
one,
issue.
yeah, track down that other issue.
I think, and I was really going back and forth with this, especially today, because I'm like, is that it? Is that it? But it almost seems like maybe it shouldn't be. But Selena seeing Joker in Florida.
That was your favorite? Starting off book
Yeah.
favorite. Okay.
And I was really wondering, I'm like, no, that can't be it. There's got to be other parts, right? And I'm like, I like so much of this book. And I'm like, but for some reason, I think that one keeps popping to the front of my brain. I like their conversation. Their conversation like gives some like a peek to the history, like their own personal histories and stuff, and referencing Gotham character history and stuff and everything. And then it just takes that twist that we
Yep.
could see was coming, but didn't know. And then, oh, okay, this is gonna get messy. And then that page that you mentioned about he goes to shoot her and she's behind him, and I was like, oh yeah. And then slits his throat, sets off in motion the rest of that timeline, and it ends up affecting the past and present timelines as well. More so the past timeline because you're like you've seen now how it ends as you're as you're visiting the past, and it's just like I don't know, it totally works for me. So this reading at least, that's my favorite part.
Yeah. I wonder if like rereading Tom King's run after reading this, I wonder if that changes anything.
Mm.
Like how you feel about it. I don't know. I haven't read Tom King's run since I've read this, but maybe I'll have to do a reread.
I did for that Tom King month.
Hmm.
And there is, like, as I've said, there's something with that run by him and this book by him that, like, when I'm done, I'm like, I could totally just start over,
Do it again.
read it again. Uh-huh. Yeah.
Yeah.
Uh, a tougher assignment. What was your favorite
Hmm.
panel?
Plot twist. Can I tell you my favorite panel and my favorite cover?
Yes.
All right. Favorite panel. You already posted it. It's that Phantasm with the
Hmm.
blood on the sickle.
Your angel of death awaits.
I read it in the voice in my head, like I hear the voice.
Hmm.
It's great.
I always
Favorite
hear
cover.
Chucky Saw.
that was a terrible impression, but
Yeah. Favorite cover is issue 5, the Clay Mann
the one
cover.
that's
That one.
signed by Clayman
Yeah,
and Tom King.
that one's my favorite. Not just because they signed it, but it's because it's that it's inspired by that one issue from Mask of the Phantasm. Forget the issue number. But it's the same red cover.
Oh yeah, like the adaptation.
Yeah, that one. So
Gotcha.
it's inspired by that one. That's also one of my favorite like covers of all time. So issue
All
5 by
right.
Clayman has my favorite cover. But yeah, the Phantasm with the blood is my favorite image.
It is extremely tough to pick one of a cover or because Jim Lee did variants and I grabbed some Jim Lee variants at
As
times
did
because they
I.
were cool. Um, but like to pick a cover by Clay Mann is pretty tough. I do. I kind of wish that the announcement make cover of with Phantasm and the reflection of Batman and Catwoman. I wish that was a cover because that would make it easier for me. But I think issue 3, that's probably my favorite cover.
Issue 3.
And that is Batman's not even on it. It's just Phantasm and Catwoman.
Oh, yeah.
Love it. Love that one. Awesome. And then in a book with so many awesome panels by Clayman, even the close up of Batman and Bruce split screen by Liam Sharp. I really like that one. The one image like you'd mentioned on the train with Phantasm, uh there's the side of the brick building where you see the different levels of like people
Mhm.
on this one partying or something, and then down on this one is Phantasm and the guy's like
Yeah,
red
like
hand on the
yeah.
window or something. In which I remember Tom King posting that on, or I think on Twitter, and he was really emphasizing like most people would like, and he wasn't even knocking of like most people would turn in bricks like this, not Clayman. Every single brick on here is drawn and sketched and everything, and is very impressive. I think that's really cool. There's great Batman shots all over the freaking place. There's great Joker shots all over the place. But like, I'm not going to be too original and I'm not going to be too different in that my favorite panel is the same panel that you said that I already posted about of Phantasm, issue 2, page 2, full page. Your Angel of Death awaits. Frickin' awesome. Frickin' awesome. Love it. Love it. Love it. Love it. So good.
Yeah. I feel like Ryan, you and I are like we agree too much when it comes to Tom King
I
stuff.
think we do.
We're
Yeah.
we're just like, yeah, I
He
love this. Me too.
he wrote all of his Batman stuff just for you and me. He's like, I know these
And
two nerds that they will what they really want, and so I'm gonna deliver. And I'm gonna make sure
we will
Clayman's
buy it
drawing. Yeah, yeah. Tom, you just heard us that we will buy the Absolute when it comes out. When the Absolute edition of Batman Catwoman is released, we will be buying it
in 2025.
in 2025. Okay, sounds good
Calling
to
our
me.
shot.
Give
Calling
me
our
enough.
shot.
Gives me enough time to start saving. Lastly, would you like to see this adapted in animation?
Yes, I would. I think it would do very well in animation, especially in this new DC style that they've been doing.
Mhm.
I think it would translate very well. I think it would be very well received because the timelines wouldn't be as confusing. It's like I remember when these issues first came out, people were not understanding that they were different timelines.
Yeah.
So I think it would be more understandable in like a TV format. You can clearly see that this is a different time frame.
There's I feel like there is so much story in this um that they can use it to inspire a story. Like get a, make a movie inspired by Batman Catwoman by Tom King Clayman. Um Inspired by. Yeah, like yes, like absolutely. I would like
Could
that a lot. Um they don't they could even scratch a little bit of the direct connections to Mask of the Phantasm. Uh, and just have it like the setup is Batman and Catwoman. They discover, a boy's missing, and then we get slowly introduced to this character, Andrea Beaumont. She's looking for her son, and it's discovered his son was killed, and it looks like killed by the Joker. She masks up as this phantasm person, goes on revenge. That's your setup. Don't even need all the Batman Mask of the Phantasm setup, I don't think. I think there's a way that you could do this and you could do your own kind of thing with it while keeping it a little true in spirit to the story. I think
yeah,
absolutely they could do it. It'd be great. Make it even more fun and make it the first Batman Caped Crusader full-length movie and have it be Phantasm. So that it's just like the animated series did it.
that would be something. People would watch it.
Yeah,
Like a
that'd be
two-part
awesome.
if they really wanted to, they could do it like a two-part movie. You can fit it into two parts.
Ooh, yeah. Now we're talking. See, we are idea machines when it comes to Tom
DC,
King.
hire
Yeah.
us. We're here. We're ready.
We'll make sure you sell more copies of Tom King Batman. Austin, what are your final thoughts on Batman Catwoman?
Um, I really enjoyed my time reading Batman Catwoman. I think most people would enjoy it. If you
Yeah.
come to it with an open mind, not just pretend like Tom King didn't write it. Just read it like you would any other Batman book. I think the only down part of the book is that there's not a lot of Batman. Like we said, it's kind of like Catwoman Batman.
Hmm.
But other than that, I still think it's a great story. Has great Batman moments in it, great Catwoman moments in it. If you like Phantasm, you're already starved for content, so you have to read this anyway. Um, so I really do think I think it's a great read, and I think that people really would enjoy it.
I agree. I even just say like, unless you're just not, if you're not a Tom King Batman fan, then I would, like I said at the beginning, I wouldn't push it like, well, you have to read Batman Catwoman. I wouldn't do that
Right.
because I don't know. I put a lot of pressure on myself when I recommend things to people because I don't want them to be disappointed that my credibility goes out the window. But it's like I just think this is a great story. It complements his run. If you don't have enough time to read his run, then just you can grab Batman Catwoman, and that's a good um option. I just think it's great and it's like perfectly illustrated by Clay Mann, and I even liked, like I said, Liam Sharp's art more this time around than I did in the past. And yeah, I mean, just I'm a massive Tom King fan, and I think this story does it like is a great service to Batman comics, and it's like, ooh, more of these stories are what I want because it does still feel like it feels like a classic Batman story to me,
Yeah.
and
It feels
that's
like
what I
it's
really want.
self-contained. Yeah,
Hmm.
self-contained. And
Which I know is crazy to say, considering he did an 85 issue story and annuals and all that stuff, and then he did this. But like I also said, like we both agree of, but I think most people could jump in and read this and they'd still get a lot out of it. So I don't know.
yeah,
If they've lasted this long and haven't read it, well then hopefully by now they're like, you know what, maybe I will. Maybe I will. So
you should.
yeah. Austin, thanks for coming back on and sitting down with me
Thanks for having me.
for like an hour and a half to talk Batman Catwoman. I can't say I'm surprised that we talked this long.
Yeah, we could have gone longer, but
I
we're
think we
not
could
going to
have.
release the Lauer cut.
Yeah, maybe if there's a hashtag, the Lauer cut could be coming. The Austin cut. So, why don't you go ahead and I don't know, mention where people can follow you?
Um, Follow me, arod720 on Instagram.
Boom.
That's pretty much it. Yeah,
All right,
Twitter.
there you go. Same handle on Twitter.
I think what am I on Instagram? I mean on Twitter. I think I'm Chicago Kid. Yeah, hold
The
on one
Chicago
second.
Kid.
I
All
don't have
right.
it all memorized like Peter Vera. No, I'm
Yeah.
arod720 on Twitter as well. So follow me there and on
Oh, okay.
Instagram.
But you are a Chicago Kid. I
I am
noticed.
Chicago Kid. That's like my
We
PlayStation.
we convened at old Greek town.
Great time. Great
Delicious.
food.
Great food. Yes, absolutely. Uh, the Batman Book Club. Follow it on the social medias at the Batman BC for latest episode drops, upcoming episodes, and sometimes some giveaways. October is going to be a fun month, so make sure that you follow there. Uh, we talked about it on here, but subscribe to the Batman Book Club YouTube channel. Pete and I are going to No Man's Land. It's happening before the year's out, so check it out there. Also, backlog. There is video of my conversation with Tom King on the Batman Book Club YouTube channel. And Austin and I, yes, we like his Batman, but we also like Tom King. He's a very nice guy. He talked a lot, gave a lot of really awesome information in that discussion. And then there's some other ones there. Me and Sean Murphy, me and Lee Bermejo, me and Kelly Jones. Those are video episodes that are fun. And then Road to No Man's Land with Pete. That's on there. So check it out, YouTube. If you want to support the show, variety of ways you can do it. Patreon.com/the Batman BC, tpublic.com, type in TBBC for the Batman Book Club. But if you want to support the show and you don't want to spend any money at all, it's 100% A-OK. The easiest quickest, most impactful thing you can do to help the show is rate and review it. So wherever you listen to it on your podcast, Apple, Spotify, Amazon, iHeartRadio, go to rate and review page and rate and review the show, because the more reviews the show gets, the more it helps spread the word. And as me, as Austin, and as all of you know, that word is panic. So for Austin Rodriguez, I am Ryan Lauer. And until next time, your angel of death awaits.